flight actor flew after that landing. None of my landings looked anything like those last three. Now let's get this and start walking around. In the old days, it was very simple. When we pranged planes, it all happened in the blue box. This is an area 7 nautical miles from the end of the runway, either side, up to 3,000 feet. And 95% of plane crashes happen there, which is very good if you've got to find and pick up the pieces and the people. It's very easy to find them. And then every 20 years or so, we'd have a mid-air just to make it interesting. We had them in Brazil and India and Switzerland, places like that. And of course, we had the game-changing crashes that all of you aviators know about, and that all pilots had to study. Things like Tenerife, of course, Manchester, Mount Erebus, and Sioux City, and then, there's so many of them. The gliders, the Gimli glider, and the Mount Glen glider, the British Airways, all 4 engines have failed glider. And so these game-changing cases came along, and we learned big changes about airline safety and aviation safety. And it was pretty simple, because Air Crash Investigations is the TV show, you may have seen it. Air Crash Investigations shows all these fantastic crashes that were all fixed by 1990, so no pilots actually watch them, because it's so boring that the acting is so bad, and their headphones are the sort of ones that you use to call your grandma with Skype from the computer. So most pilots don't watch Air Crash Investigations. And besides, the reason for your crash hasn't been invented yet, which is why you're going to crash. And so we don't watch Air Crash Investigations. So I got back from Ahmedabad after flying to Ahmedabad and back from Dubai one night, and just found out about Malaysian Airlines, and I put a tweet up before I went to bed. How can you possibly lose a 777 for 2 hours? And went to bed. And when I woke up, the greatest detective story of all time had started, with 3 types of science being invented just for this very crash. All sorts of amazing incompetence, did I say that? Many things happening about the industry that had to change as a result of this, and it exposed a lot of flaws, and it also inspired more conspiracy theories than John F. Kennedy, the moon landings, and 9/11 combined. Weather was immediately, we thought of weather. This whole area is around the equator, and we have the intertropical convergence zone. These are areas where the weather from both hemispheres collide. And so it sort of moves up and down over the seasons every year. And the ITCZ, or the ITCZ as we call it, was sort of running along here across the top of the Straits of Malacca at the time. And you'll know that if you fly to Europe, so many rich people. I can't believe the number of Aussies who fly to Europe. God, I tell you, the last time I went to Paris was May last year, and the purser came up and she said, "They're all Aussies." I said, "Yeah, well, there's a cold snap in Melbourne, so She said, "No, the whole plane, 545 Aussies on tour." I said, "Yeah, all of them on their mortgages. It's just like, it's too cold, let's go to London for summer." Anyway, so you'll know about the time that you want to have a toilet break after the 3rd movie, that it gets pretty rough. And if you'd sit up the front, you'll see some amazing sights. Luckily, the cabin crew run along after the sun goes down, and they put the slides down so you can't see out, and they try to convince you that you're in a movie theatre. If you're with Emirates, we've got 2,000 things to show you and keep you excited and watching, and we feed you all this fantastic food, so you believe you're in a restaurant. But actually outside it's minus 57 degrees. Your skin would, like your fingers would snap off. The wind's doing 1,000 kilometres an hour. If you get a bit of a wind went in your eye, it'll take all your skin off. And it's very, very, the molecules of air are this far apart. And so it's terrifying out there. But we don't want you to know that, so we put the blinds down and put on lots of big... And the more you spend, the bigger the screen. So we look at these things, and this is called the significant weather prognosis chart. when you're in the job and you got the job, then we say, oh, better teach them how to work in a team because they keep fighting each other. Because I've got a corridor full of A-type people. And that's the pilots have to be to get the job. And to learn to be a team player sometimes is difficult for people in this business because you've had to do so much by yourself. You're the only person in the world who knows what it's like to go solo in an airplane. And it's such a fantastic experience. For those of you who are doing aviation management, you don't understand. The instructor waits till you do a really shit landing, and then the instructor says, righto, well, I'm going to get out now, bye, and leaves you by yourself. And of course, they know the chances are that you're not going to do two shit landings in a row, so the next one should be okay. And so you're so terrified, you start texting out, trim set for takeoff, throttle, friction up, firm set, 1000 master, roll, mixer, mixture, pitch, fire, lock, some fuel, speed, instrument, check, left, pull, free, airways, ready. That's a Cessna 172's takeoff checklist from memory.
Sounds wrong.
You get airborne, you turn crosswind, and you're downwind, and you're solo. And you think, you look at, and you're too scared to look over there. You're shitting yourself. So you're just looking here, so like a limited panel. You're looking here and out here, and you're flying, the airport's going past, and you're saying, then you think, take a sneak look, and you look across, oh fuck. And then you're about to start doing your turning base checks, and you're sitting there, and the sweat's pouring off you. And you say to yourself, it's okay, it's just okay. The airplane doesn't know I'm the only person in here. And then you realise the airplane does know. Because the airplane knows how much the plane weighs. Because those little molecules going over the wings. And it knows exactly that you're the only one here by yourself. And it's fucking terrifying. So when someone comes up and says, listen, do you mind working in a team? You're going, they don't understand me. And it's true. By the time you're becoming an airline pilot, it's very hard to work in a team. So it's worth studying. Sitting there, he's interviewing this guy, and the kid's like 19, and he says, any questions? He says, yeah, how many years till I can have your job? So he's gone, no worries at all. We've got big black text to colour, and because these old men, the people who run aviation industry and most industries, they resent you guys. They resent the fact that you can type faster than their secretaries used to be able to. They don't understand how smart you people are and how much you get information. When I'm a captain flying with a paid passenger, a cadet, what do those people on the right? First officer. When I'm flying with a new first officer who's young and enthusiastic, he takes the autopilot out at about 3,000 feet, which is not a good thing to do when you're flying with an old bloke like me, because I'm taking pictures out the window. And as soon as he takes the autopilot out, instead of him monitoring the aeroplane, I have to monitor him, because I've got to make sure he doesn't do something crazy. And so all of a sudden, I put the camera down, I'm going to start looking at the instruments, I'm going to look at him, I'm going to look at the airport, make sure everything's coming up okay. Which is a bit of a drama for the A380 because it's 80 metres wide. And really, you want to spend most of your time looking at the airport because when you get there, the chances are you're going to hit another A380 because the wingtips are really, really close together and they make them exactly the same height. And so when you've got 92 airplanes at an airport and you'll be able to be there in a few seconds, you like looking out the window, taking some photos, seeing who's parking on the taxiways, if anyone's about to cross the runway. When he disconnects the autopilot, you've got to concentrate on the gauges. And he sits there, and he's been playing Microsoft Flight Simulator since he was 6. And he flies this ILS like that. And after about 2 minutes, you go, Jesus, this guy's really good. He's really good. And then the plane's rock solid, and you're going down, and you go, mate, this is millennial. This is a kid who's been hand flying since he was 6. He's got more experience at hand flying. His hand-eye coordination is better than I had at 1,000 hours of flight time. These guys are incredible. And then we get to the last 50 feet. And I got the seat back and I'm thinking, this guy is really fantastic. And then, bang!
bam! We do this landing, and oxygen masks fall down, and why didn't you fucking flee, you idiot? Like, you know. And he's looking at me, like, for advice after he's crashed the aeroplane on the ground, going, what is wrong with you? It's a 6-knot crosswind, it's nothing. And then I realised, of course he hasn't got any experience. You haven't got any experience how to fly one of these jet aeroplanes, but you can fly an ILS better than any of us. And that really is weird. You've got these skills. You can actually type faster than you can think. Imagine that. A guy I used to speak to on the ABC radio, who used to run his afternoon program, he's only about 20 years older than me. He was a journalist. When he went to school as a kid, they gave him a piece of blackboard and a piece of chalk. And he went home for his homework, was to take his piece of blackboard, which is about the size of an A4 sheet of paper, and he used to answer 4 questions for his homework. And with chalk. Can you believe that? And I heard him tell me this as a Doug Aiken, who made us a journalist. And I'm thinking, what a dickhead. Like, you know, I had a 64-page exercise book, you know, with a red pen for lines and shit. You know, I was like, you guys are. And of course, along comes the youngest industry in the world.